and then I'll go, and then you throw in this guitar part just to add another layer onto it, and then you add this layer, and together.
As a matter of fact, I'm going to stop this meeting for a second so I can send the video.
Get about those pesky memories. Oh, please. Burn it out, turn around and leave. I don't know where I'll be. Just me. Took 3 years to hold on to what's gone. So good, ooh, move on. I took my eyes on finding something new to set them on. I got a fresh start, hot, gypsy soul to me apart. Fight for me, don't let me be alone. But that's all you do. I don't fight for who won't fight for me. Fight for me. I can't sleep, I don't wanna help myself. Why should I? Oh, why should I? Jacksonville Andrea says she's calling out my name, waving by, hey, through the night. Run away with me, babe, I swear that we can leave this all behind. Yeah, it's our time. The angel will never deal with me. While I find another crime, quick dime, some future mistakes in a bottle of wine. Fight for me, don't let me be alone. 'Cause that's all you do, you left me out here dying on my own. It ain't home no more. Fight for me, take care of me for long. Yeah, 'cause that's all you do when I don't fight for who won't fight for me. Fight for me.
Yes. All right. Okie dokie. Well, hey, you guys. I got a couple of texts. Some people are just going to be popping in and out, which is fine. Especially hello to some of the new people here. It's really good to see you guys. I did want to go over a couple things that are going to be going on. This are virtual events that are happening because we don't know what's going on with the safer at home and all that crap. But we are still going to keep on with our co-writes. We've got the Sunday Night Lives master classes that we're going to continue throughout the winter. I know that we do have one master class with a friend of mine that has produced a lot of stuff in Nashville. A really good guy. He's worked on some Taylor Swift projects. He's going to do a master class with us, which is going to be really neat to have that opportunity and then work with some writers and things like that. All right. Sorry, I'm just getting a text here. So we are recording some of this just so you guys know, so that we can have the questions and stuff like that. How's everybody doing? I'd love to see some of you guys if you turn your cameras on. Whoever, Millian, I know you can turn your camera on. Hey, Jacob. Hey, Isabel. What's up, Millian? Caroline, what's
Hello.
up? Lizzie, Mia, Mary, Josh. Let's see, Josh. And we've also got Jonathan, Stephanie, what's up, River, Jared, Mary, Chandler. So a couple of other people, they're going to have to be okay. Join in later, so that way we can get started with some of this information, especially for some of you guys I know that are working directly with GarageBand for your music projects. That's going to be some really good information for you guys. This won't be a long Sunday Night Live tonight. We'll get to the points of stuff. I did want to say I'm really excited for you guys that are releasing stuff this coming year. You guys are like really in the trenches. You know, some of you guys were wanting to do some studio time, and this learning about the GarageBand is going to be a great way for y'all. Even if you just want to get a good template to take to your producer. We're going to talk with Jacob here in a second about how he was able to produce himself, record, play, use all the different plugins. He's going to give you guys some really good, useful information for that. And I'm really proud of all the writers that have been writing this year, working on your projects, and the new writers. You guys, I'm really excited for you guys. They're starting to write your songs this winter. I wanted to give you a little bit of background on Jacob. There's Jacob right there. Jacob, if you'll say hi. And I don't know if you guys can see the chat. I'm still figuring some of this out, but I've put some stuff in the chat, and Jacob's going to put his links to his social media and stuff. And of course, when he does his official release, which y'all are going to get to hear a sneak peek of it tonight, when he does his official release, you guys will have access to that information first. So what he's going to do is he's going to show you guys the difference, because I know for new songwriters, what you're doing is you're writing these lyrics. And I know, especially you new songwriters that are in here with me right now, you know what it feels like when you're writing something on your keyboard or your guitar, and then you're like, this just didn't sound like what I want it to sound like. And it's not. And that's something that Jacob's going to address, about how when you're writing a song, you've got your live acoustic version, which a lot of you guys know I speak about that a lot with y'all, your live broken down version. And then when you get in the studio, you've got the produced track. So we're going to be able to hear where Jacob started with the song, and then what his finished track produced on GarageBand is going to sound like. And I really encourage you guys to ask questions. Raise your hand so that way I can see you. Put it in the chat. Although I can't see the chat in my screen for some reason. Jacob, can you? I may be doing something wrong. You know how old folks get on tech.
Well, you're also, I mean, part of you're on your phone, so that's part of the issue.
Oh, is it because I'm on my iPad?
Well, yeah, because what's it called? On iPad or phone, whatever you have, there should be like 3 dots somewhere, and it should have like more.
I see it. Oh my God, I see it.
When you pull it up, yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, awesome. I see the chat now. Okay. That's so funny. My grandson's watching. That's so funny. Okay, so let's talk about these upcoming events really quick. We got the co-writes, we got the master classes, which I talked about. Most of the Sunday Night Lives are going to be master classes. The co-writes are going to happen during the week. We've got the sync training, which is a huge, big thing that only some of you guys are going to be able to do. But as you know, that I do place music on television shows, Stranger Things, HBO's The Leftovers. We're working with Netflix right now, putting music on some projects. So this is going to be an enormous opportunity for some of you songwriters to be able to possibly have your songs on television shows. I mean, that's a nice little paycheck when it happens. It's also just, man, it feels good to have a song that you're watching your favorite show, and then there's a song or an ad. I just put somebody's song on a Dunkin' Donuts commercial. This was 3 years ago, and that was a $50,000 paycheck for this guy, Memphis local writer. So that stuff happens all the time. So that's another thing that we'll have going on. When we come out of this quarantine or the Safer at Home, then we're going to have our songwriter showcase that we do 2 or 3 times a year. And then we'll have the artist showcases, which we do when somebody gets ready to release something. I'm excited about Millian coming to town. That's going to be a lot of fun. It's exciting to see her. We're also still have the vocal competitions that I don't make y'all do, but I strongly encourage the any kind of competition because it just makes you stronger artists. Isn't it right, Caroline? You better preach on that because you know, okay. Because it's tough. And look at Jacob. Jacob, I like literally drug you into a vocal competition. You weren't even a vocalist, which is going to be something interesting we're going to talk about too. Jacob was not even a vocalist. He started out as a drummer. So you guys, there's so many areas of this business you can get into. So anyhow, so that's some of the things that's going to be going on this coming up season. We're going to continue the Sunday Night Lives, and I will let you know about that. This is going to be live streamed. Not this one. This one is kind of like our, I guess, practice event to see how well it records and stuff like that. And then I'm talking to some people about doing this as a live stream and a webinar. So that'll be really exciting for you guys too. So what we're going to do is we are going to listen to Jacob's song, his first single release. It's going to be released are we doing this winter or early spring?
It'll probably be winter. It'd be like January, February-ish.
Okay. So Jacob, again, was a drummer, a very talented drummer that I met because of his partner at the time, his girlfriend at the time was one of my students, and they were writing a song together. And then I heard his voice and I was like, wait, what are you doing? Like, how you doing? Come on in here. So anyhow, and Jacob's always been a songwriter. He plays with the band Land Divided, the pretty well-known local Memphis band. And anyhow, so this has been his individual project, and he has literally written an album since quarantine started in March. Yeah, just like solidly, maybe before then. So I wanted to talk about the one everyone knows, which is going to be Jacob's first single release. I love this song myself. Jacob's got like a rock blues background, which some of you guys read about in his bio. I want for us to listen to him play a little snippet of this live. And we're going to ask him some questions about his songwriting process. And then we're going to listen to his produced version of it, which I think the contrast of the two is going to be fascinating for you guys to hear, so especially you new writers, to hear that where you start.
Yeah, it'll be a lot better. It
gets better. Yeah. So you just got to finish the song. And then once you record it, then it becomes this incredible experience. All right, Jacob, let's hear some of the one everyone knows. Y'all can do a silent clap for him.
Silent clap.
Silent clap. Thank you, Mia.
Little light, gonna let it shine, burn it down to the ground, this light of mine. Better run to the river tonight, 'cause your heart is black and the lies are white. Fuel my fire deep inside, I want your pain and I want your pride, screaming me until your voice has finally died. Better call my name, better hit my face, better leave me crawling, put me in my place. Closer now, 'cause I ain't got time to waste. I want your hate to accept my fate, but baby, all you do is avoid the truth. It's killing one, it's killing two, killing me, and baby, it's killing you. Ooh, 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 ooh.
Yes, that is so good. That is so good. Let's talk about your songwriting process. This is really interesting too for me to even be asking these questions, because I've been so blessed to see this journey of Jacob's. And you have to keep in mind, this is a guy that started out as a drummer, you know? So, I mean, he had written songs, but he started out as a drummer, got thrown into the position of a vocalist, has become an incredible vocalist, now has become an incredible guitar player. Let's talk about your songwriting as a formula. what could you tell us? Did this particular song begin with lyrics, a melody?
So this song in particular, what was so funny about it and probably really stereotypical, I feel like a lot of us as songwriters really have that knack for coming up with stuff like in the shower, in the bathroom. I guess it's just
Raise your hand. I know every single person.
Yeah,
Yes.
I guess it's just the acoustics in there. I don't really know, but
Right.
I don't know. I was just in the shower. I had this melody a couple years back, and I was just singing, you know, the chorus melody. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Just it's basically what it does is it just runs down the black keys, which if you play keyboards just means that you're gonna sound really good. That's the Stevie Wonder formula. No, but
yes.
but yeah, so really I had that melody and then I wrote a whole song based around that. I was gonna use it for this other project. Ended up not really liking the song, so I just tossed it. I thought whatever. Oh, sure enough, in January, stuff's kind of happened in January last year, and it was a big year, I think, for all of us. 2020 was.
Yeah.
But it all started in January, and then I got on this really big writing binge. I wrote the EP really in a whole month, and then I started demoing it over quarantine. But
and that's how it happens, which a lot of you know that I tell you that when you have your nulls, sometimes when you just don't feel writing, and then you have those moments where all of a sudden you've got 12,000 songs that you feel like you need to write at one time. And then sometimes some of you guys try to write those 12,000 songs into the one song. And that's why sometimes I'll tell you guys, all of this is not going into this one song. I think we just spoke about this, Isabel, the other day. It's like sometimes you'll have like 50,000 content hooks, ideas, and sometimes we just have to separate it. What do you feel like as far as what helped you to kind of sculpt this, to go from the lyrics and the melody? How did that process happen?
I'm trying to think. So I played a song right before, if a couple of you were on, I played a song right before called Make It Move by Johnny Lang. And I feel like I really took from that initially because I had that melody and it sounded really bluesy to me, but I wanted for the verses, since those choruses are so big and they're so prominent, I just decided, I was like, okay, well then the verses, I want to break it down, maybe have the vocals be the melody and then have these little hits, these hits in between to give it space. And so I think really it was just a matter of like, I had a 3-chord song, which is really all you need in the long run.
Which is interesting because it has so much texture, this song. So right. to know that that's what you're working with, to have such a texturized song.
But yeah, I was wanting to go for like the beginning that I sang, that's got that little intro on the track, what I wanted to have kind of inspiration for it, and you'll be able to hear this, but I kind of wanted to go almost like a Southern gospel type Baptist church choir starting up type thing. It's got like, it's got depth and it's got all these different runs and that kind of thing. It's almost like, like a church clap type song, which is kind of the
so that inspiration came to you after you were, that was like a pre-production thing for you?
Yeah. That wasn't the intro. Actually, I came up with on the spot. It was one of those things where, because it starts so abrupt with that hit, I was just like, I feel weird just starting off with a hit. There needs to be some sort of precursor to this.
Yeah.
So I came up just phonetically with all of this crap, and then you end up coming up with.
Could you tell us what phonetically means?
Well, phonetically meaning like you'll sit there, and so you'll sing a melody along with something. And then in between, there's these little, like, there's sounds, there's word sounds, right? Yeah. So you'll sit there and you'll try to almost decipher what you just sang without knowing what you were singing at all.
Right.
And then I ended up coming up with that. Yeah. So yeah. And I ended up coming out with something like This Little Light Gonna Let It Shine, coming off of Let It Shine, that kind of,
which is, it's so interesting to hear on your produced version. I can't wait for them to hear that, because that's so interesting how that thought in your head, and like I'm sure some of them right now are kind of imagining what that's going to sound like. It's neat to hear the produced version of that. Just before I'm going to open up and see if anybody's got any questions for you, but what advice would you have for new and seasoned songwriters as far from your perspective?
Don't be afraid to start simple. That's one of the biggest things I think I can really stress, because I mean, that song right there, at least the bare minimum you heard, that's the bare minimum of the track. So that stuff that I just played is in there. But when you start layering stuff on top of it, you start ending up hearing all sorts of stuff. So you go, oh, well, maybe the melody could go this way, or oh, I hear a harmony here, or I hear a way
that's
that
really important,
yeah,
especially for you new songwriters. Just keep in mind that it is a process. I talk about it being a journey, which it is an emotional journey, and it's, you know, an artistic, creative journey, but it also just, you know, I sort of say phonetically, what is the word I'm trying to say, as far as like the whole process from the first word, the first melody, to your pre-production to the production. It is a process.
Do you mean methodically?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I think what I was thinking is like method, but then also like with music. So maybe I was trying to make up my own word. Maybe I should just do that next time.
Maybe you should coin that, ship that off to Merriam-Webster herself.
What a small amount of advice would you have for some of the seasoned songwriters that are on here?
I don't
that
know
are possibly in the studio.
I don't know that I'm super qualified to give advice, but no, well, I appreciate that. No, what's it called? Don't be afraid to like explore simple ideas. Like I feel like as songwriters, especially, you know, like you were talking about, you'll sit there and you'll have 3 songs that you're trying to put into one song. And it's okay to break stuff down to its bare minimum,
right,
to build it back up again, you know?
One interesting thing you did, and I want to talk on this, and then if you girls have any questions, guys, you know, just raise your hand or put it in the chat thing. But one interesting thing you did, and you have done as part of your writing process, is you'll take one of your songs and put it into different genres and styles. There's a couple of these guys that have tried something similar to that. Will you talk on that for a sec? What that was like?
Yeah, absolutely. The song that really comes to mind when I'm talking about something like this is I have a song also on the EP called "Coming Down," which will be it'll be the first track on it. There's a lot of songs on this EP, by the way. But no, I had this riff initially that was just this really headbanger, like really just like straight up rock riff. And I thought, oh, well, when I'm thinking about my reels, right? And we talk about
everybody
reels.
Should know, all my students know reels mean recommended if you like when you go to Apple Music, you buy something, all of y'all should know what I mean by that, because we use that all the time. Go ahead, Jacob. Sorry.
No, you're fine. What's it called? But yeah, so one of my reels kind of around where I'm leaning is a guy named Eric Gales, and Eric Gales is a Memphis artist.
I bailed him out of jail. I love telling this story. I'm so sorry. I did bail him out of jail. You can go ahead. I just have to make sure.
Yeah, but he does this weird thing where it's almost like, it's not swung, but it's almost like hopping. Like it's got a groove to it, and it's one of those like just really head bobbing type things. So I just put that rhythm on top of this really. So what I ended up doing, you know, the song. Right, so it's got that type of a rhythm to it. So my advice with writing songs, and I've written with a couple people already, and people that really can't really visualize stuff, and some people that don't play instruments. You know, I write with vocalists a lot, which really helps you. But one piece of advice I would say is try to put your song in different genres. And what I mean by that is like, it's what I used to do to learn songs. I used to be at a place called School of Rock where we would learn cover songs and stuff like that. And to really know the song, if you know the song, you can sit there and you can play it in any different. So take Van Halen's "Jump," for example. Like you know, everybody knows that song, but you sit there and you can play it like "Jump," but then sit it there and turn it into a jazz piece, right?
Which is so interesting
which is bizarre. Yeah. Right. But then you start hearing it in all these different ways. And as a writer, it really starts pushing you. You go, okay, well, this song could be exactly what everyone expects it to be, you know, and I could go the easy route with it. Or if you want to experiment with it, you go and you put it in this whole new light. So
that's perfect advice, especially for some of you girls that sometimes I'm like, you know, right outside of this comfort zone for you. Like I know for Millian, her artist named Millian, she had just started working with the beats, and it changed her sound completely, going from just this kind of indie singer-songwriter to just writing to more digital tracks. It made a huge huge difference. All right, so let's see if anybody's got any questions, and then we're going to listen to the produced version of what you guys just heard, and then we'll ask some questions about GarageBand. Any questions from you guys? All right, they'll probably ask me later because they shy. Okay, I'm just making sure nobody put anything in here. All right, we're going to listen to the produced version, which was produced by Jacob, of the one everyone knows. So it's the same thing you guys just heard on the
but just miles better. It sounds
right.
Yeah,
so it's going to be just better. Just different. That's your first version.
This little light, gonna let it shine, burn it down to the ground, this light of mine. Better run to the river tonight, 'cause your heart is black and the lies are white. Feel my fire deep inside, I want your pain and I want your pride. Scream at me until your voices finally die. Better call my name, better hit my face, better leave me crawling, put me in my place. Listen closer now, don't leave me with all this space. I want your hate to accept my fate, but baby all you do is to find the truth. One, it's killing two, it's killing me, and baby, it's killing me. Stab me in the heart, rip out my eyes, leave me there lying till the blood is all I've cried. I'll spend my time thinking what went wrong, remember what it was and hate you all along. Then I could sleep, I've been restless far too long. I want your hate to accept my fate, but I'm without a clue, nothing to hold on to. It's killing one, it's killing two, it's killing me, and baby, it's killing me. Baby, it's killing me.
Candace. That's a good point. Yeah, that was amazing.
Awesome.
Oh, okay. Yes. Good job. Oh my gosh. Yes. You guys check out these comments. That's really cool. This is one of those songs you would speed to. Guitar solos, harmonies are flawless. Absolutely. Candace said it definitely has the vibe that you were going for. She likes it. She loved the guitar. I mean, like, that's amazing. And so you guys have to keep in mind that this was created in his house with the GarageBand app. So let's talk about that really quick before we ask some questions about GarageBand. Let me ask you this. As a songwriter, when you've written your first song and you're kind of like, I'm over it, it's like, whatever, it's boring. And then you get into this stage of writing and recording and producing. Tell us what that feels like to listen to this track and knowing that people are listening to it and love it. What does that feel like?
Well, to be honest, at first, like, especially because I kind of mix all my own stuff too. For the most part, I haven't gotten, that's un-EQ'd too. There's no EQ to that. There's no master, right? That's straight from GarageBand, like just recording into it.
So does it feel great or what, knowing that this is what it ended up with? That's what I want them to know, this process. The payoff is big.
When you start demoing and you really start getting to experiment with this stuff, you get more excited about these songs. And then when you've gotten away from them for a little bit, because when you're in the recording studio, you know how it's just like, oh my gosh, like I got to do another take of this. As soon as you get away from it for a couple of weeks, and like now this is like my first time hearing it in a couple of weeks, this mix, you can really look back on it and be like, yeah, I'm really proud of that. It was a lot of hard work, but
and I thought that's one thing I want to we're going to try to get into these GarageBand questions too, since our time's wrapping up. But one thing I want to really reiterate with, especially you younger new writers, and that is that it starts there. It starts with those first thoughts, the first little chords. And then this is the end result when you sit back and you can you grow this thing. And then you've always got this body of work that you created from your soul. And it's so worth it. All right, let's talk about some GarageBand things really quick. I know some of these guys are working with GarageBand, and I know that some of y'all have got questions because y'all ask me this all the time, and I do not have one clue. So type it, anything that you have a question about GarageBand, go ahead and type it in the chat so that way we can address it. But I think one important question I was going to ask you to go briefly tell us the first steps when you're sitting down creating your track on GarageBand. What are those first few steps?
Well, the first little bit of it, I set out and, have a massive challenge ahead of me, basically of making a song that is on GarageBand not sound like it's on GarageBand.
Right. That's perfect. Yes.
Right. And so initially, the first way I went about it, before I did anything, I was okay with sounding really bad first. So like that song you just heard right there, I've done like 4 or 5 demos prior, and they all sound horrible. Like there's little things about them that are good. And I want to really reiterate that baby steps are steps, especially in writing. So for example, you get a really crap demo, but the vocal take is good. Crap demo, but great vocal take, right? If you've got a great vocal take, that's just another step forward in that song that you have another idea of how it's going to fully sound at the end. So
then you would keep the great vocal and then build off of that.
Right. Well, I mean, you could do that. I would usually redo vocal tracks and try to do them because the whole idea is you've got that idea. You've got that feeling, that emotion of that first one. Put that more into the second one. So if you have a certain, like, for example, melodies, when you're working out your vocal melodies, especially on this track, I go in and I've reworked that melody probably about, I don't even know how many times. And, in those verses, because you don't want to be too repetitive, but at the same time, you want to be consistent enough to where
right. Because you want to have that stamp that makes it recognizable.
Right.
Let's talk about the interface. I know that's something that that's important. What kind of interface did you use? What was your experience with that? Does everyone know what an interface is that's working with GarageBand right now? If you don't, then type that in the chat so that way we can address that.
Yeah. So as far as interfaces go, I didn't work with an interface at first. And then when I got it, it like opened my eyes. It was amazing because so I just used the basic. This is a Scarlett Focusrite, but I used the 4i4.
Okay.
You can see it in the camera. I don't know. It's the
Yeah, write
Scarlett
that down,
4i4.
especially some of you guys I know that are working currently with GarageBand. Will you say that one more time for these guys?
Yeah, it's the Focusrite Scarlett 4, and then the letter
Okay.
I 4.
Okay. And if you guys need that information, just, contact me and I'll get it to you. So that's the interface. So that was a really important part of this process, obviously. Other than the interface being an important, can you talk about the plugins?
Yes, plugins, especially if you're in anything involving guitar, keys, anything that goes direct in, and direct in meaning you plug directly into this interface. Plugins are a lifesaver because I know a lot of guitarists and a lot, like, especially I've got a guy that I'm working with right now who's doing guitar tracks. And I literally had a talk with him last week. I was like, hey, like, plugins are there for you. Like, they're just amplifiers. So if I go into, hold on, I'm going to share my screen again just to help y'all out with visuals of this.
Lizzie and Jonathan, I hope y'all are paying attention to this particularly. I know Jonathan is working. He's got.
So going into the plugin side of it, you're going to go to these separate tracks, right? So you click on this one track here, and here's a plugin, right? And so if you look over here, I have the Heartbroken, which is basically for people that are into guitar. This is kind of like a Jimmy Page, like Led Zeppelin-y, Marshall sound.
Right.
So this is a good one. I also use Royal Rock for a couple, because there's some plugins that sound better than others, but plugins ultimately are going to make all the difference because it's like you're playing through an actual amp. And what's great about plugins too, that a lot of people don't know, is you can actually customize them just like a regular amp. So you can go to this section here and you can move microphone placement. So you can go in and you can drag this and you can move it closer to the speaker or farther away, or you can change position here, right? Or you can go in and you can change what heads and stuff like that. So it's like you're playing through an actual amp.
Because it even has a visual there.
Right.
And the same thing would be for like keys, for strings, horns. It's the same process.
Yeah. Let me go into keys real quick because I have organs on this. With organs, I usually just use an audio track, just a regular audio track, because organs usually have all of their sounds already in there. So I wouldn't bother with a plugin on that unless you're going for that really deep purple type organ tone. And then I would throw it through like an electric guitar crunch plugin.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
I would throw it through Guitar Amp because that's what they used to do, is they used to throw organs through Marshalls and you can really play with sound there. But other than that,
that's a good tip. That's a really good tip with the plugins. Did you utilize any online tools or videos, any tutorials that kind of helped you learn all this? Because it's intimidating for a lot of us creative writers that are not really technical or really good with instrumentals. And don't even smile, Million, you're good at playing stuff. Like I'm talking about, how I play the piano. Like people that are just not really gifted with their instruments. We can get lost in it. Did you find that the tutorials or any of that helped you at all?
I went online mainly just to figure out how to do just kind of basic functions, like nothing crazy, more like stuff like being able to record drum tracking, because with drum tracks you need to have it all recorded at the same time. And so I'm going to show y'all something really cool, and this is going to be something that's a very quick thing. So if you are recording drums through an interface with two inputs, what you need to do in order to make that happen. So you see right here, I have these two record buttons right here.
Yeah.
So first of all, make sure that your kick, so how I run it is I do a kick and an overhead for drums. This is getting way technical. I
know. I was going to say, yeah.
But so the overhead would be running through input 2 and kick would be running through input 1. You go into track, you configure the track header. And when you configure the track header, you can go into record enable, which is what you want to click on. You want to check that, make sure that's checked. That way, if you go in, you'll press record and it'll record 2 tracks simultaneously.
Okay, see, that's good. That's good to know.
Yeah, so you don't have to do
these are the
separate
kind of things, the little shortcuts, and because you're kind of deep into the program when you start learning some of this stuff. So that's really important for you guys to be paying attention to, because he's kind of basically skipping you ahead from having to dig around and figure out how to do some of these more sophisticated things.
Even like little stuff, like if you wanted to use your interface to record an acoustic cover, you could put your acoustic in one channel and a vocal in the other, and you could record it simultaneously.
Okay, so that's because some of these people actually are working on that. So that's something important for you guys to know. Wow. I mean, like, this is some really good information. Does anybody have any questions that you've popped in? I know some of these are my shy group. Some of my older students are out of town for the holiday, which it still feels like it's Saturday or Tuesday. I have no clue, but I think everybody's kind of like that. So I've gotten some text message from some of the older ones, and they're like saying, "Hey, you guys, support the new songwriters out of town. Hope to see you guys at the next Sunday Night Live." So we've gotten a lot of that, just letting you guys know. Okay, so Millie Ann has got a question, and it is, how do you feel about equalizers on tracks? Good question, Millie Ann.
EQ. EQ is very, very subjective. I'm not really very good at EQ. I have a guy that EQs my stuff for me. However, I would say it really depends on vocals. It's more about finding the frequencies that are really bad in your voice. So you'll go in, and I haven't done mine yet on this track, but what's it called? You go in and you just take one of the little,
that's a really good question.
I'll play around with it. This is a great question. EQing. So say I'll just do a vocal track. So if I go to the beginning, oh, by the way, this is how many vocal tracks I do. I do way too many. Like in
that's
that
a
song,
good thing to point out, though.
So many. So with my vocals, a lot of times there's two tracks of the same thing. So for example, and one's pan left, one's pan right. So if you're listening right now, you're going to be hearing one ear is going to be this part.
This little light gonna let it shine, burn it down to the ground, this light of mine.
Right, that's left ear. Then you got pretty much the same thing in the right ear. The only difference is the endings on all of them.
This little light gonna let it shine, burn it down to the ground, this light of mine.
And then both together sound something like this.
This little light gonna let it shine, burn it down to the ground, this light of mine.
That's so cool.
Right. So it just makes it slightly bigger. Sorry. Anyways, going back to EQ.
That's a very good example, though. So that just shows you, even on there, for you ones that are just doing even, you and your instrument, like more of an acoustic singer-songwriter tracks, you still can get a really good, rich sound and a good quality just from some of these little tricks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we've got on like a vocal track like this, let me just solo it real quick. You can go in. I'm not gonna, obviously, for people that don't know what EQing is, this is probably not gonna make any sense, but it's
and you know
fine.
what, that's something that maybe Millie Ann and I can address with you too, because I know she's almost at that place.
I'll gladly talk about it. Yeah. But
and I know some of the older writers are there, some of the new writers, they're in the stages of just trying, like, just now got the app, just now have the program figuring out, how to start placing things. So everybody's at a different level. Yeah, Mia?
Okay, so this might be a really stupid question.
There are no stupid questions, baby.
So for instruments that I don't know how to play, would it be
a very good question, actually.
Should I if I don't have them, should I learn how to play them and get them? Or should I use tracks that they already have on there and just try to make it into my own?
Great question. So just to throw this out there, on this track in particular, and on pretty much the rest of them, I don't play bass and I don't play any of the keys stuff because I don't know how to play keys, and I can kind of play bass, but I'm not that good at it. So I wanted to get somebody that knows what they're doing. I would say if you're trying to work out a song idea, like if you're at the base level of writing it, I would just program in a part and then get inspired by that part and then have somebody else record it later on, and then they'll put their own flavor on it and whatever.
That's a really good tip.
But I would say if you're really looking to try to because that's the thing. That's why I started learning how to play guitar. Like I just learned how to play guitar like over quarantine, it was something I started picking up, and I began really getting into it. And the reason why is because I had all of these sounds in my head and all of these things that I was thinking up. But when I would explain it to people, it was just like, the ba-dum, 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 just like stupid
Right.
gibberish, right?
We know this language.
Right. So I learned how to do it for my ease. You don't have to. You can get other people to do it, but you just have to know somebody that has that kind of
and the
musical
more
understanding.
You can learn, the more independent you can be with your music, the easier it is. I know that some of you guys are at that point now where it's like, okay, I've just now learned how to play a few chords on this or on that.
I'm even there right now. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, you could hear Jacob's guitar track. This has literally blown my mind, and I'll start wrapping this up. But even watching some of you guys going through this process, I hate some of our older artists are not in this group tonight. They will be in the next one, but it's just watching the process of seeing how somebody has picked up such sick guitar chops like Jacob has, just like from somebody who just noodled around to like doing some pretty sophisticated.
I do want to point out that this song is one of the 2 songs that I'm proud of the guitar solo on. I don't do guitar solos a lot.
But I mean, my God, it sounded amazing, and that this is an instrument just to prove to you guys when I say this to y'all that you need to learn things. You're going to master some things, and then some things you may be okay. Then some things you may surprise yourself and be like, wow, I mastered this and didn't even mean to, like I did with the spoons. Nobody has any. I'm the only sponsored spoon player in the world, but whatever. It's not a big deal. I don't try to just like have clout with that. It just happened. No. Sponsored by Oneida, but not bragging. So let's try to think about any other question that we have. It looks like we've got one question, and then we're gonna wrap it up. And oh my God, where'd it go? Oh, there it is. Okay, so this one says, just want to say awesome song, super catchy. Okay, wait a second. We've been playing for 6 years and those licks are crazy. Don't underrate yourself. Thank you. Just want to say awesome song, super catchy, marketable, gives me an Arctic Monkeys type feel, which is
bizarre to me because I don't usually go for Arctic Monkeys, but
that is a really all cool
the more open to it though. Yeah.
That's a very awesome. Good point, which is pretty unique sound in my opinion, unique in its own nature for sure, lyrically, melodically, and so. Okay, and so he's written so many good songs, so that's some good feedback coming from Cody. He's one of my favorite writers. Yeah, man.
I have one more question. So
of course,
I have a really good chorus that I've been working on, and I just like can't find any verse lyrics. Should I just keep it in like one track and then like put some of my other song lyrics that might totally not go with it and put it in there with it, and then like could it come like together, or could it like form into something without me even knowing? Like, would you recommend doing that? Or
this is a great question. As far as choruses go, usually I would say choruses usually dictate lyrically where the rest of it should go, because chorus, I think about lyric writing a bit stupid. It's not stupid, but it's more like it's a more educational way. So think about your chorus. If everybody's at least in high school, so they have done high school writing before, right? Think about your chorus as your thesis statement, right?
Yeah.
The chorus is like that. Yeah, so your thesis statement is what your paper is about in like a sentence or less. So think about your chorus like that, or like a bumper sticker, however you want to think of it. Yeah. Right? It's got to be catchy. It's got to be right. So think about your chorus like your thesis statement. Base everything else off of that. Make your first verse something that's,
supports it.
Right. Some maybe not supports it, but kind of introduce people to what you're trying to say, and then say it in your chorus. And then what's it called? Verse 2, you just kind of expand on that. That's really all that is.
And to kind of build on that question a little bit is, so like when you're dealing with GarageBand and you don't know where you're going with the verses, like melodically, is that what you mean, Mia, or with your lyrics?
I have no idea, because like I came up with this chorus like right when I started songwriting with you, and now I have no verses to it, nothing at all. And I've been trying to come up with it for like 5 months. Is
it the song that I think it is that starts with a V? Okay.
No, it's not.
Oh, okay, never mind. Okay.
This one we did like a month into songwriting, and
I think
come
Okay,
back
so
to
this happens a
one.
lot with these new writers, even with old writers. You'll get this really cool chorus, and you're so governed in on the chorus that it's hard for you to kind of figure out where to go. With your suggestion on that, especially playing around, if you've got the chorus on GarageBand and you know you're in the key of like, you know, F sharp minor, then perhaps you should think about what that next chord would be for the verses. You know, like if you're writing an F sharp minor as your chorus, maybe you should do A minor for verses.
That's another thing also in GarageBand. Make sure that you know what key you're in, because if you want to use pitch correction or if you want to use whatever, you're going to need to have it in the key that you're in so that it knows what to do with it. Also, you know, because if you try to change it after the fact, it'll change the pitch of the song and then your entire
That's a
thing is
really
shot.
great point. That is a great point.
But as far as lyrically, if you want to try throwing in like other lyrics into it and then just seeing maybe if that makes you approach your chorus from a different angle, then you can have a further idea of like lyrically where to go with it as far as what
we'll take a look at that
bigger
track,
scope is.
Mia, this week on your actual program and see where you are with that.
And I think Millie has a question.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just going to add to what Jacob was saying, like with the thesis statement, when I'm writing a song, I know my chorus is the first thing I write. So it's like you get that big snappy like hook, you got the part you want everybody to get stuck in their head. And then you go back and you're like, I'm sure y'all studied like similes and metaphors. Right. So like your verses should be your metaphors and your choruses should be your explaining. Like,
yeah, that's
perfect.
What
I do. It's like
Jacob said,
snappy, like you tease people, and then you give it to them. So.
Yeah, and I'll say and one cool thing, especially knowing all of you guys, there's some of y'all that start with the verse. There's some of y'all that just start with the emotion. I know a lot of some of the writers I work with, they start from just like, what is all this crap I feel? And so we kind of do a feelings dump that kind of go into, you know, verses and choruses. So keep in mind, just because you've got one process does not mean that you won't have a different process for a different song. You know, don't limit yourself to
there is no right or wrong formula.
There's not. I mean, there's years that I would start songs with artists that I was working with, and we would start with just the chorus, especially in country music, where the hook is everything. So we would start with the chorus for 2 years as a staff writer, you know, and then finally I was like, my personal writing would go to like verses or just thought. So don't keep yourself in a box. Go with that. If anybody else has any other questions, keep in mind that you can always reach Jacob on our Facebook page. That's a great place to ask any additional questions or follow up with Jacob. Jacob will be doing another masterclass. Jacob's also doing some co-writes with 1 or 2 of you guys this month. And I'll send out some information about that. Yeah, Mia?
This is my last question, then I'll stay.
Baby, you ask as many questions as you want to.
So I'm horrible at writing tracks. So I've
you know how I hate it when y'all say you're horrible at something.
Okay. I'll tell you, I'm okay with song lyrics, but I can't do tracks. So this is
just a challenge. It's a different challenge.
So I was messing around like a week or 2 ago with things they are like already set up tracks that they have. And I put it together because I've been trying to go into more rock music writing because I'm always on the like slow like songs. And I was wondering if you have like any tips with like rock music stuff, like if like
making it more fast, more up tempo.
I do actually. What's it called? So funny story. I write with another artist who is also in Song Shack named RJ Gick. If you know RJ, you know that he plays piano. RJ is classically trained, and he gets pissed off because when he writes, he gets mad. I'll watch my language.
There's songwriters. I have a disclaimer, I think, on my contracts that say I do not have the. We were talking about some craziness. Go ahead.
Yeah, but anyways, what's it called? He gets really mad because when he writes where he plays everything. So therefore, every song he writes turns into a ballad. And so he's been dealing with a similar thing where he wants to get more into the rock music and he wants to make it upbeat and that kind of thing. My advice, throw a drum track on top of your existing chord chart. Just try it. Throw it with
a beats per minute
on it. Yeah. But I would say just throw a drum track on it because it will make you think so much differently about what you're writing, about where the direction of it is going. And it'll give you different ideas as far as, you know, getting more up tempo, getting grittier with your stuff. As you heard in that song, I'm yelling
Yeah,
practically the
that's
whole song.
fantastic idea. Starting with the drum track. And that goes for some of you guys that I know that are working on digital tracks too. The drum tracks, the rhythm section's always going to be important. All right, well, I'm going to wrap this up, you guys. I'm so thankful for you guys that this is our first Sunday Night Live. How much fun was it? Give Jacob a big, big hand. I mean, like, thank you for your time, Jacob. And Jacob does some mentoring with some of you new writers. It's going to be a great experience to get to work with him on some stuff. I'm thankful for you guys that popped in here, some of my older artists that popped in. In the next Sunday Night Live, you'll get to meet some of our other songwriters and artists that are out doing some stuff. And I'll send out some information on the next one. Did you guys get some information you feel good about doing the Sunday Night Live? Okay, good. All right. Well, I will send out an email on the next one. Does anybody have any questions or anything? Or keep in mind your suggestions. And again, if y'all are not on the Facebook group, that's where y'all need to go. If you're not on there, your parents may be on there. So that way we keep the information fresh. Feel free to post your stuff on there. I've been encouraging a lot of you guys to do your quote lyrics, the lyric memes, the lyric quotes, put those on the page. Any questions that you have for Jacob? Also, any suggestions you have for one of our master classes or the next Sunday Night Live, which maybe next Sunday, I'll let you guys know on that. Make sure you do that. And it was good to see everybody. Had a good time. Thanks, Jacob, for everything that you've taught us. Your music's great. We can't wait for your release. Everybody will be right behind you, supporting you. Be on board. Y'all will share it 100,000 times. I know you will. Follow him on Instagram. What's your Instagram, Jacob Turner Music?
Oh, yes. My music page is Jacob Turner Music.
Y'all better follow him too. I know
there's also something in my bio. If you do want to follow me on my personal account, it's in there. So
okay,
Facebook is Jacob Turner -music as well. YouTube also Jacob Turner -music. So
perfect.
Will
man.
It be released on Apple Music? Like when
it will be released on all platforms whenever it comes out.
Yes. Oh, y'all will know, honey. Believe me. You know how I'll be all up in your emails, on your texts, being like, y'all need to share and support. It was so good to see everybody. Thanks for your feedback. Thanks for your comments. Thanks for stopping in. I will put the recording of this evening up on the Facebook page sometime this week if you guys wanted to catch up anything you missed. And I will see you guys in lessons. I will see you guys, some of you on my webinar, and then I will see the rest of you guys next Sunday. Bye. Thank you.
Awesome.
Bye. Thanks,
Thank
Jacob.
you.
Bye.
Bye.